Okay, so this is exactly what I wrote then. No, it is not, of course, but it is called Tamasha, and it relies on your knowing cricket. If you were a cricket partnership, you would have your fans going wild with your half century. Although many, when you came to the crease, were not yet born. And others, well, let's just borrow a phrase, we were so much older then. And cricket, let's face it, is not everybody's cup of tea. Although, as a metaphor for what you have accomplished, it has its usefulness, as does a good cup of tea. Let's start there. In 50 years, imagine the cups of tea. The quantity alone staggers the imagination. Average 1 cup a day for each of you. That's 18,250. Doubled is 36,500. Staggering. Not to mention the variety of tea itself. The white, green, black, oolong, herbal, and the sugar, the milk, and the places, the company. Beijing, Angkor Wat, Oakville, Dhaka, New and Old Delhi, Durban. I love the atlas of your life. Mumbai, Harvard Square, Manhattan, Bear Island. The number of times they have played across the line, moving their bats laterally to the flight of the incoming ball. Alter, don't forget to mention their nimble lateral moves. Lincoln was dubbed Twinkle Toes once. And both on the dance floor can shake a limber leg. Their dexterity and footwork, turning the catastrophe of 1971 into their life's work, for instance. A blind date into courtship, into marriage, 50 years into this plethora of wonderful people. Trailblazers you are, then. Bats in hand, dominating the pitch. An indomitable partnership who continue to play against the line, not anywhere near ready to retire, which has your fan base, cups of tea in hand, well, in a state of euphoria, knowing from you how possible it is to live well for a long time. Each day a new ball, sometimes at pace, sometimes they googly. Bat never more than you together handle with such seemingly effortless aplomb. The dance floor then is yours. Oh, Twinkle Toes. Let's dance the Intercontinental, the Foxtrot of 50. Show us again how graceful a partnership can be. Shabash. For Marty and Lincoln on their 50th.
Marty and Lincoln, apologies, but that's always been the order. Not the preference, but the order. You two have been friends for all of us, succor and savior, masala and meaning, home and heart, bond and beautiful, Dhaka, Boston, Delhi, Lake and Lane, Brookline, Red Sox and Patriots, so that's a big concession. Okay. You two have held us together, harsh when needed, so loving when needed. Money, meals, mentor, travel, travails, you are always there. 2 India memories of your marriage. First, when Lincoln's letter arrived in Rajpur, and Dad read it to me and Mom one winter evening, in that magical place called the Center. Dad read it with trembling hands and voice, and you, Lincoln, were one of us, and we were one with you. And on the day itself, I was staying with Bob and Ellen at Midland's duplex. Dad came up from Rajpur and put your picture, Marty's, on the sill over the fireplace, and we celebrated the exact time, Dad calculating as always, and it was dark outside, and raining slight in the monsoon blessing of the hills. And Dad was quiet, his only way of dealing with deep emotion. And I was kid brother, in awe and admiration for a sister who was a champ, twirling batons or running relays or buying things at the tuck shop. We teased her mercilessly, but loved her even more. So this is Shad Ki Salgira Mubarak Ho. 4 proud parents are smiling in heaven.
Oy.
So this is from Uncle Victor. What is there to say on Lincoln and Marty's 50th anniversary? I feel I'm somewhat to blame for this happening because I was best man. I remember standing with Lincoln in the entrance of Dwight Hall at Yale a moment before the
Where Victor graduated.
a moment before the ceremony was to begin. Both of us in morning coats and him saying, I just felt a fright for the first time. The big step he was about to take loomed up suddenly. Little did he know that 50 years of married life to one person awaited him. Marty's grandfather, Dr. Beach, led a beautiful service, speaking of the loneliness that had led Marty and Lincoln to each other, and we celebrated afterward with orange juice.
No champagne or anything.
Marty's parents, after all, were missionaries. Far stronger drinks were to come later and would mellow out the difficult patches of 50 years. A year before the wedding, as I was about to sail to Britain for my graduate studies, Lincoln had me drive down to Philadelphia with him to visit Marty. She was then studying Sanskrit at the University of Pennsylvania. At one point, Lincoln and I were in a room waiting for Marty to get through with some event, and Lincoln took a nap. I remember him saying in his sleep about something or other, quote, I'm sorry, dear. I'm sorry. I thought, my brother must really love this girl. That they were an item had been clear since the summer before that, when Lincoln and I and Marty and Peter Morrison took a trip cross-country in the Plymouth station wagon of Peter's dad. But the trip to Philadelphia confirmed to me how involved they were with each other, which would be further confirmed in the letters that he sent to me in England in the year leading up to their wedding. I became introduced to Marty's family, her parents and grandparents, and her brothers John and Tom. I remember especially Grandpa and Grandma Beach's passion for card games, how they included everybody who was there, and how each of them hated to lose to the other. They and Lincoln and Marty gave me a feeling of home that would stay with me for many years. I fell in love with the Alter family, so capable and adventurous. In the summer of 1969, when I was working as an intern reporter for the Boston Globe, I didn't have a place of my own, and they allowed me to sleep on their couch in their living room on Frawley Street. Their apartment was a walk-up, and their wonderful dog, the German Shepherd Krishna, would sometimes bound down the stairs to greet Marty when she returned from the grocery laden with bags. That time would keep a nostalgic glow in my memory. And around Christmas in 1981, when I was in Washington, feeling that the whole American empire was swirling around my head, I tried, vainly it turned out, to find again that kind of home by traveling up to Dean Road in Brookline for a respite. Lincoln and Marty have had 2 kids and 6 grandkids, which count as a great blessing. Everyone knows from Marty's year-end letters how much pride they take in how their family turned out. When you and Alexis were finishing up with school and college, so this was addressed to you, Gray, I guess, Lincoln expressed his satisfaction to me with how, in a way, his life's work was complete. You two have been his most important accomplishments. Lincoln and Marty have been through more history than I can tell. Marty recently shared with me her notes from her talk at Harvard on her family's point of view on the partition of the subcontinent and the breakup of East and West Pakistan and the founding of Bangladesh. It was good to have her recall her and Lincoln's criticism of Richard Nixon's and Henry Kissinger's policy in the latter 2 events. There is a lot to contemplate in many contexts in what might have happened if only the best advice had been followed, and what is bound to happen with some things in any case. Lincoln and Marty are life partners, which may be the most important thing to have on this terrestrial sphere. I am sure they count themselves fortunate that they were fixed up together back in those Princeton and Connecticut college days. Here's to drinking to another 50. Childhood. We had to overcome some severe illnesses and difficult journeys, traveling in a truck to escape from Japanese and survive a stormy ship journey from Shanghai to Taiwan during and after World War II. Our parents were often away, and our aunt cared for us for much of our youth, and my mother had a difficult time adjusting to our new life in America. Speaking for myself, I think a stable home is one reason that my marriage has lasted. I presume that goes for your marriage. 2, great example. Our parents stayed together through thick and thin. For me, the example of my father as he cared for my mother was one that certainly inspired me, and I presume Lincoln, as we age. 3. I once read in the social media about finding a long-lasting mate, and one suggestion was that the couple goes on a camping trip together. The trip will try the capability and patience of the relationship. I think the car trip across the country that Lincoln and Marty with Victor took probably sealed the deal. Carol and I shared the same experience in our youth. 4. Luck. One recent travel with our college friends, one reminded me that I might have ended up as her brother-in-law. However, her mother told her sister after a few dates with me that she could not see me anymore. It turned out that our mothers knew each other during their Harvard days and had a terrible fight. I guess some Chinese women never forget. Anyway, Lincoln probably never told Marty that he had a Chinese girlfriend from a wealthy family. Her mother disapproved because our family did not have money.
What is a what? What is it your genes? Is it your experience and so on? And I don't share any of your genes, that's for sure. But the experience of about 46 years, give or take, I feel very much a Chen alter.
Well, you are.
And it means a lot that we could and share this with you. So that's all I really wanted to say. That the experience is far more important than that genetic connection.
Never mind race and gender. And Gregory is 2.5.
Oh.
And Lexus is 2 weeks.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you too. So we have a new kid in the house and all of that. And Richard Cash, we had never met. He had been in DACA before us, and we inherited all the legends and the House of Richard. And we were working together on a fight for Bangladesh recognition because Kissinger and Nixon were against it. And so he had come down from Baltimore, and he was staying in our pull-out sofa in his tiny house. And I woke up that morning, and I looked at my watch, and it was 7 a.m. Now, I had not slept in until 7 a.m. since Alexis was born, right? And I thought, oh my goodness, what's happening? And I went out, and Gregory was cozied up against Richard in the bed, and Richard was reading him stories. So it wasn't Alexis who was waking me up that morning. It was Gregory. But that morning, he had Richard. And to me, I had just met Richard. He was a friend for life. It was such an endearing moment. And you have been part of the Chen Alter family. For sure. Stella, we're happy to have you too. 1967 was the year of the Loving versus Virginia case, where a black woman and a white man had married or had children and were living together in Virginia. And in Virginia, it was illegal for whites and non-whites to marry. That's the year we got married. And that case went to the Supreme Court, which ruled that it was legal for whites and non-whites to marry. Now, we got married in Connecticut, and I haven't looked up. I don't think the marriage of whites and non-whites was illegal in Connecticut. But it's a symptom of the times, how far we've come. Think of all your friends and all the interracial couples and all of that. But 50 years ago when we got married, in some states of the USA, it was illegal. Our marriage would have been null and void, except that there was a Supreme Court ruling, right?
North Carolina, and when we got back in 1950, he wanted an academic position. There were no Asian professors in American universities at that time. Zero.
Amazing.
Zero.
Amazing.
There were none. There was some teaching Chinese language.
Yeah.
But that was it. Okay. So the world is changing. It's obviously not changed far enough. But I think our proudest achievement over the 50 years is the children, the grandchildren, the in-laws, and the family. And here, I have to give all credit to Marty because she's been, unbelievably committed and steadfast to the family, which comes from, I think, the altered tradition. I don't know.